Hey everyone, I got another exciting show for you today, bringing you another investor that's very successful, very active in the business, so we can really understand what the successful folks are doing in today's business. So I have Mike Cowper with me today. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing really good, Michael. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, no problem. The first thing I'm amazed by is the name of your company. It's called Return on Investments. I'm like, come on, nobody had that name before, and sure enough, nobody did.
Yeah, when we were trying to come up with company names, it was, we were just trying to throw stuff off the wall, and somehow this one came up. We're like, no way. And then we checked it out and it was available. So we grabbed it and we've been operating under it for the past, 3+ years.
That's very cool. Well, why don't you introduce everyone, Mike, to Return on Investments, what it is, what it does, and we'll start with kind of that story.
Yeah. So return on investments as of right now in this market is primarily a lead generation and marketing company. We're real estate investors, but what we are trying to target are off-market sellers that have some sort of distress or don't realize that there are people like us out there that want to buy houses that aren't perfect. Everyone has been conditioned to think that they have to have a super nice house to list it. Maybe not so much lately because of the appreciating market for the past, 10 years. But for the most part, we're trying to target those people that are in some sort of a situation that we can help them out with. And that's usually by buying the house cash as is, and then working with them on their timeline. Because the misconception that I believe out there is that everyone wants to sell in 7 days or faster. Some of ours, people want to sell in 4 months on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So being able to understand what our sellers are looking for and then be more of a consultant with them has really helped us be able to build up the business, which lately has been a lot of assignments, double closes. We haven't done a whole lot of active flips lately. But, my partner and I also, buy rentals from the company and we peel it off because we've got a team of people that work with us now that help it run as a business, allows me the time to be on here with you while our business is still operating, which is quite a wonderful thing. There's still challenges. There's always struggle. I didn't have any management or quote unquote leadership experience in the business sense when we formed this company, but I'm learning as we go and really trying to impact lives, not only the people on our team, but also the sellers that we work with, also the financiers that fund the rentals that I've got and the people that help, support our business. So, it's been a journey that's exciting, good and bad throughout.
That's great. So lots of stuff I want to peel back there. But before I do that, do you focus on a single market? Are you all over the U.S. or what does the team at Return on Investments kind of look for? What areas are you in?
So our primary market is Metro Detroit, Michigan. We don't actually do any work in the city of Detroit. There are some really great up and coming areas, some that are more stabilized than others. We just found that it's such a big market and it is so street to street that it was hard to effectively target that market in the way we want to. We do focus on the single family space, although we do some small multis. I'm an investor in a 40-unit apartment building as well. But really what we're targeting are 3 counties in Michigan. It's Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne County. And essentially each one of those I would call their own market in themselves. Collectively, I think there's like 3-point-something million people in those 3 counties.
Oh, so small markets, I guess, huh?
Yeah. And then the other market that we're in is Lincoln and Omaha, Nebraska. We're actually partnering with another investor there. We're kind of doing the marketing funnel. They're working more boots on the ground. And we're kind of exploring that as a potential opportunity to scale, maybe where we don't necessarily have to manage the people, but find partners in markets that make sense. And we can generate the marketing side of the equation. They can work the boots on the ground. And then we have a split at the end of the day.
Right. So you take what you've become very good at, which is the marketing or above funnel activity, kind of get it to some point where it's like, okay, let's go have a meeting at the kitchen table, if you will. And that's where you would transition it to this partner in Lincoln, if, for example.
Exactly. Allows us to leverage the scale of economy, right? So we have people on staff all the time answering calls, qualifying, talking to people. And then we can just pass over qualified leads. And then that way they can go out there and work the ones that make sense. And they don't necessarily have to come on and have that staff on their team because we are big believers that live answer and having someone that understands the market rather than, there's great services out there that we use as backup if our team can't answer, but having someone that doesn't work in your business and understand what you do and be able to explain it never works great. It comes off robotic and it just doesn't have the great conversion that we're looking for because it costs a lot of money to market.
Yeah, no joke. So let's talk about the team because you're right. Not many people appreciate just the sheer volume of, items or whatnot that goes into the top of the funnel. So if you're not treating the few phone calls that come back with the respect and value that they deserve, your conversions are going to collapse, especially with competition ramping, right? What that phone call means, at least most of the time, is, hey, I'm interested, treat me with respect and some, attention, and we'll continue the conversation. If it sounds like a robot, I'm like, oh, hang up, go to the next one.
And that's exactly what it is. People are already nervous because there are investors that give investors bad names and do things that are unethical.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to paint any of us with a broad brush because that hopefully is not our goal. But
Right.
unfortunately, people are already nervous about what we are, what we do, and they're afraid it's a scam. So if we're not able to put their guard down by listening to them and then explaining how we might be a beneficial option, we're not going to get much traction.
No, and you just said a word that I don't think everybody caught, and that is listen. Right. What you have on that phone call is someone who is in at least some pain, right? Maybe not physical pain, but some kind of time pain, some kind of condition pain, some kind of relationship pain, something. And what they're basically calling you is, you know what? You may have some aspirin for me. I'm not really sure, but I'm in such pain that I'm going to call somebody. And that takes work to find those people because they don't just run around with a sign saying I'm in pain, I'm in pain. So you've got to go out and send out a lot of things to get those phones ringing. So tell us about the team, right? You've said team a lot, which I love. How big, how many, where are they? You doing virtual assistants? What's going on?
So right now, everyone is locally based. I'm exploring some of the virtual options, but I think I'm going to still want to keep that US based. We've tested virtual assistants overseas and just, it's nothing against them, but the accent tends to, for some reason or another, at least in our market, have an impact on the ability for them to open up.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it's a call center.
Right.
So we have a marketing manager who is a data nerd. Some of the stuff he tells me and talks about, I have no clue what he's talking about, but he goes and pulls lists and asks for every little bit of information. Do they have a dog? What kind of dog, right? Anything that he can grab so he can build out algorithms on how exactly we can target the people that are most likely to want to sell to someone like us, right? Because we don't want to necessarily target the people that have the perfect house that can sell it and don't really need to. That's not where we add value. So that's kind of where it starts at the top. Not to say top of the team, but that's where the top of the funnel begins.
Correct.
He makes the phone ring, makes people go to our website, generates traffic and things like that. So people reach out, raise their hand, say, hey, we might have a house that we want to sell. Then we have 2 lead intake managers who answer the phones, reply to those, and do follow-ups until they get the lead to a qualified level. After that, we've got 2 and I'd say a half acquisitions people because I kind of fill in and float occasionally just because I love sales. That's kind of what my entire background has been. So I get stir crazy sitting in the office. But we have 2 acquisitions reps that will then, call the person up, introduce themselves. They do the comps, run the numbers, and start to build that rapport. Go out to the home, meet with the seller, see the house, estimate the renovations, and then present the solutions with them. Once we put a property under contract, then we have a dispositions manager, and his responsibility is to reevaluate the property with the updated information and timelines, and then determine what the best exit strategy for us is. Whether that be buy it, fix it, flip it, buy it, wholesale it, just sell it to a homeowner because maybe it's in good enough shape, but the seller just needs to get out. Wholesale, I said wholesale. The other option is to flip it ourselves or wholesale it or then keep it as a rental.
Right.
So he analyzes all of that. And then he also works with the title company about making sure that gets pushed to the finish line, getting the appropriate documents in place, depending on what gets pulled in title. And then that turns into profit.
Yeah, that's great. So you're talking a team of roughly, let's call it 6 people, you, your partner, 7, I guess. 2, 1, 7 people.
7 people. And then we have they're not active in the day-to-day business. We actually have a bookkeeping business specific for real estate investors. Mm-hmm. So I would consider them part of our team. Our bookkeeper started with us and then we just recognized that need. So we created that business on the side, but she also works with us, but she's not in the office, just kind of more.
So sub 10, but sub 10 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. So, often when I talk to folks that you're running a very clean operation and much props for that. The one thing I'm curious about is How much, have you seen a change in how much stuff you have to put at top of the funnel to get the kind of same results? Is this year different than 2 years ago, right? You mentioned you've been doing this 3 years. Have you seen a change in the market?
Yes, it has become a lot more competitive. There's a lot of the traveling road shows that get a lot of people excited, and they go out, and unfortunately they're not always the most educated. So they bid up prices at a number that no longer works for us. But for the most part, it has gotten a lot more competitive. And I think now, since the market has continued to rise, at least in our market, there's been a crunch on that middle inventory for the median home buyer, first time home buyer.
Yeah.
So if you have a house with 4 walls and a roof, they've been selling easier. So the agent side of the equation has been more aggressive. And I think they're starting to take more of the direct market approach and more aggressive approach as well. So that has become a lot more competitive, because you're not just competing against other investors, you're competing for investors, and also the agent side, because they're going to go and try and say, oh, hey, I can list this house for you. And whether or not it's the right fit, I guess it's up to the individual situation. But I have seen a much more competitive market, especially since like the last quarter, end of last year was a lot more work to get deals through.
Yeah.
Just because there's more options for people, which is good for them, just challenging for us that we've got to overcome, who moved our cheese.
Yeah, exactly. I read that book. That was a good one. One of the things I'll just offer you, not that you asked for this advice, but tough luck, it's my show. So I've invested through this real estate adjustment before, right? I started in 2003, obviously went into 2008, huge crash afterwards. I do not see that same type of crash. That's not what this is about. But what I will tell you is as markets soften, which I think at least in the upper end we're seeing today, prices are sticky on the way down, because, sellers kind of remember, hey, my neighbor sold last summer for X. So the first kind of 3 to 6 months, prices are sticky, and that's when inventory builds up. And then at some point, I'm guessing by June, the prices really start dropping. And, today, you're seeing price drops, but they're like $5,000. If the market goes the way I think it will, you're going to see the 10, 15, 20 grand price drops. Because I think inventory is going to pile up, and some sellers got to sell, right? If it is a perfect house and you can wait 6 months, maybe it doesn't apply to you, but most people aren't in that situation. Most people have their wealth tied up on their house. They got a job, they got to relocate, they got whatever. And at some point, time becomes the problem. So, I see some interesting things coming for guys like you.
I agree. I'm starting to notice the stagnant in pricing, and if the spring market comes and goes, because that's the big, I don't know if it's every single place, but here in Michigan, when the snow melts and everything like that, it tends to be the hot season. And if they get into June and they haven't sold their houses, they're going to reconsider what that agent told them. Yeah, we can sell it in 4 days and overbid the asking price.
Trust me. Yeah, it's a changing market, especially one going high to low, is when you got to pay attention to, because again, prices are sticky. And then at some point they cry uncle, they give up. They're like, okay, unload. So, one of the wholesaler teams that I'm working with, I'm like, guys, you might want to dial back or at least fine tune your mailers, because, as you're going to run your numbers in this market, maybe the sellers aren't as interested, but boy, take that savings, put it in the bank, and then double or triple down in, whatever your hot season is, May, June, July, whatever. So you're going to spend the same amount this year, on marketing. It's just going to be different months, is what I've told one team. So that's pretty cool. So I guess the one question I haven't asked about your current business is, how many transactions did you close 18 with? Like, for example, is it 50? Is it 100?
I believe it was around 120. I don't know the exact amount.
Wow, so
we've consistently done about 100 to 150 for the past 3 years. Wow.
So let's just call it 10 a month. That's 2.5 a week, right? 2 to 3 a week. That's impressive. That no wonder you have a team of 10 people. That's pretty cool. That's a closing a person. Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. And again, all in those 3 metros of Detroit, the 3 million people or 3.5 million we talked about earlier.
Yep.
Wow. Impressive. All right. So, you weren't always doing 10 transactions a month. Do you remember when you sort of sat back and you went, you know what, I want to give this a shot. I want to start this company. What were those first couple of months like?
Yeah, it's funny. So I'd always been in sales since I got out of college. I got out of college in 2008. So best time ever to find a job, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was a great time.
The only real opportunities out there were sales jobs. So I jumped into that, and I found that I had a pretty good knack for it after kind of learning some of the do's and don'ts. But I'd been doing that for some time, and ultimately one day I was in my backyard with my best friend and best man at my wedding, and was talking about real estate again, because I'd always had an interest in it. And he finally just looked at me and goes, dude, when are you just going to go do something? So that was July or August of 2015. And I really struck a chord with me. So I started going to all the local RIAs. I found a local mentor, ended up buying my first rental in November of 2015. So I kind of got aggressive on that. I bought it through a wholesaler on my first opportunity, and, realized, oh, wow, that's kind of a cool idea. So over the next couple months, probably 3 or 4 months, I bought 2 more properties, 2 more rentals, and I started actively networking with people in my market that were doing direct mail, because I realized, hey, there's got to be a better way than just trying to buy off the MLS or buy from other people.
Right.
And he was in a transition period from flipping into wholesaling. And I ended up working with him for a couple months as his acquisition salesperson. And then from there, we decided, hey, this makes more sense for us to work together than ultimately compete at some point in time in the future, because I was not going to be an employee forever, and he knew that.
Yeah.
And we just have very similar personality styles and aggressiveness, and we call it cautiously aggressive. So him and I joined up August of 2016. And that year we were doing about 2 to 4 a month. And really we're just, he was doing the mailing, I was doing the sales and helping, sell them. It was just him and I, a 2-man shop, kind of with division of labor. When a mastermind we heard about grew from a previous relationship he had. So we ended up joining a national mastermind that was designed to try and help people get from a 6-figure business to a 7-figure business. It's called 7-figure flipping. And we joined that, and really that taught us to build systems and processes and people rather than just work much harder. Because a lot of us, if we don't know any better, we just go, okay, we just got to keep working. Then you're frayed edges, candles burning on both ends. So they really showed us how to systematize and build a process and follow, a repeatable pattern. And that's really, I would say, what the difference was. We trusted in that. We recognized where our bottlenecks were, and then we, budgeted for that person and then hired a person to help it. So the way it evolved for us was I was going on all the appointments, answering all the phone calls, calling everybody back. I couldn't go on all the appointments and appropriately follow up with everybody or answer all the calls. So we decided to hire a phone person that could help us answer and follow up and schedule stuff for me. After getting more deals from doing that, we recognized, oh, hey, it's a real pain in the neck running back and forth between these people, going to closing, title company. So we hired a person to help with that. Then we ultimately hired an acquisitions person to remove me from the day-to-day so we could focus on building the business rather than being in it. And then ultimately we hired a dispositions person to help sell the properties. So we really kind of pulled ourselves out of almost every part of the piece of the puzzle.
That's great. There's, again, so much stuff you're giving us that we'll just sort of unpack. So let's do the timeline real quick for numbers, rough numbers, right? So 2015, basically you buy 3 rentals, if I remember right. 2016, you strike up a relationship, test it out, it works, you become partners. How many deals do you think you do in 16? Just rough numbers are fine.
I think we did like 30 to 35.
All right. So then into 17, now I'm guessing 17 is when the mastermind came up. We'll peel that back a little bit more because I want to talk about that. But what 17 was, you went from 30 to what, roughly?
100.
And then 18 was 150.
Yeah. So I got my numbers a little bit wrong there in the beginning. Sorry.
That's okay. No, this is just so people know that there's a progression as you fine tune things and you put systems and you hire teams, that all comes to bear. So masterminds, I'm a huge believer in being in masterminds because there's a couple of things that I think happens. One is you're immediately around like-minded individuals, right? People that are in it for a reason, right? Masterminds shouldn't be free, in my opinion. And they should be expensive, right? They should be 4 figures, 5 figures. I haven't known anybody do a 6-figure one yet, but I'm sure they're out there. So I don't know. But again, right, they're not meant to be cheap because again, you want to be around the people around that table who can stroke that check and then are interested in going from 30 transactions to 150, right? That's hard to do. And most people think, this is where most people get masterminds wrong, in my opinion, is they just think they need to work harder, right? This whole rise and grind and nonsense that's out there. And as you said, burn the candle at both ends and magic will happen. No, you're going to start wasting money. You're going to start losing transactions. People are, it's going to explode If you want to do 10 or 15 a year, one-man show, go nuts, right? You can work easily 40 hours a week. You can make a decent living. But if you want to run a business that's growing, you want to get, I suggest if you want to do 30 transactions, you're going to have a team, right? It's not going to be a one-man show. You want to do 12, one a month, go be a one-man show. And then if you want to go do the growth from 30 to 100 to 150, a mastermind is going to be the help. Because trust me, you could be the best person running a shop. You do not know what it takes to run a business. They're very, very different. So that's my thought on masterminds. You have anything that maybe I was mistaken on?
No, you nailed everything, right? The community side of it is incredibly huge. And then the learning from one another, right? Because the way we explain it in ours is, we're all little mad scientists in our own market, testing little things out. And then we share, hey, this works, do it. This doesn't work. Don't waste your money on it or your time on it. So we're able to really shortcut that learning curve together because we're all doing little things on our own, testing little things, and then sharing the results of that and being able to support one another as well. Because sometimes just as good as hearing the great stuff is having someone to commiserate with when the bad stuff's happening with as well.
This world of social media, it's not all glorious, people. I mean, just for example, I put out a 3-minute video last night about a stupid thing I did and lost 40 grand. Right? There are mistakes. And when you're around a table of everybody doing 100 plus transactions, trust me, y'all have some stories. I could only imagine. So you would say mastermind was a, I don't know, key to your success, key to growth. What would you say?
Yeah. I mean, it tripled our business. I mean, we went from,
is that all? It's just tripled your business? Oh, that's so sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was one of the best things we've ever done. That's why I do am a huge proponent of it. Now we're actually helping in the coaching and mentoring side of that group now, just because of what we were able to help out with. So I love it. It definitely changed our business and our lives by joining that group.
Now, I believe, hopefully I don't get this wrong, but the 7-figure, what was it called again? 7-figure flipping, or what was it called?
Yeah, it's 7-figure flipping.
And that's Bill Allen's team?
So Justin Williams is actually the person that owns it.
Justin owns it.
But Bill Allen, he joined the same day we did.
Oh, cool.
And he did like 2 deals his first year. And now he's doing, I think, even better than us. Like he's in 3 or 4 markets, probably going to do 200 transactions, 300 transactions this year. All while when he first got started, he was a pilot for the Navy. So he's flying around building the team and having his business grow. He is a wizard.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to catch Bill. I think it was New Year's Day and interview him, much like yourself. So shout out that team. But I want to give some props to this organization. I see lots of masterminds. Why don't we just talk a little bit about the group? At least the if you're in, right, people watching this may be wholesalers looking to grow like you. I think we should shout out the mastermind team, right? So, talk about Justin. I'll talk about Bill a little bit from my interview, but let's give them some props. It really helped your business. I think they're doing the right thing, helping others. So let's give them a little bit of props.
Yeah. So Justin Williams was remotely flipping about 150 houses a year with a 4-person team. He was really amazing at building out systems and finding the right people that could help execute his vision. So when he started the 7-figure group, it made a ton of sense for us. And my partner, Mike Simmons, was with him in Podcaster's Paradise. And that's how those two got connected. So Mike was helping out originally and moderate his original group for coaching in the beginner phases. It's called House Flipping Formula. So Mike had a personal history with him. And then he partnered with Andy McFarland, who is out of Utah. And he was doing a couple million, I think, when we started. And essentially that's really one of the main reasons we joined, because we had access to the two of them. Andy is in, I think, 4 markets now as well. And he's probably going to do $3.5, maybe $4 million this year in business. And he was really what we copied. He said, here is all of our processes. Here's how we interview our people. Here's what the profiles look like. And we just copied it. Now, once you copy, you've got to tweak it for your own business, your own market, your own personality, your own styles. But really what that did was allow us to shave off so many mistakes that we could have made just trial and error in it. Yeah. So that's really why we joined. And then Bill came on at the same time as us. And, the funny thing is, you said they are expensive, but when we were sitting in that very first meeting, Bill said something offhand to us about what he was paying for his postcards, saved us 10 cents a postcard, and paid for our entire business. I mean, for our entire
look at that.
On an off comment. that he didn't think was valuable. And that's kind of where some of the big key nuggets from a mastermind come from. Just those side conversations where you don't think you're doing anything special, but to somebody else it is.
Yeah. So this is why I'm a proponent of masterminds. It gets you around like-minded individuals. And again, there's a couple of things that Mike said there, right? They share what's going on, right? That's kind of the price of admission. And then that's the return, right? Here's everything I'm doing, right? Here's how I built a 7-figure business, the process, the procedures, what we look for in employees. Just think about that. Not only did you save mistakes, you freaking saved time, right? You went to like third base and you know, you're responsible for getting third base to home plate, right? You know, to score. That's a lot easier than being in the freaking dugout, right? Or in the stands, which is, you know, where a lot of people try to do it by themselves. And then what I got to say about this group is, if, you know, my experience with Bill and my now experience with you, if you guys are representative to what's in that group, a lot more people should go investigate what there is, because I'm blown away by both you and Bill, and your not only your processes and your procedures and numbers. That means very little to me, but it's your willingness to share, your openness. You answer all my questions. You know, you just tell it how it is. And you know, I haven't interviewed Justin yet, so maybe you can give him a little nudge and say, get on my show. But this has been a lot of fun. I really applaud that group. And you know, masterminds are a big deal. The last thing I'll say about masterminds is there are lots of them. The number one thing that you need to do, in my opinion, is find one that fits you, right? I get invited to lots of them. Some of them just aren't a fit for some reason, right? For example, I was invited to a mastermind group 3 or 4 months ago, and everybody in that room was, I don't know, I'll say sub 30, maybe sub 35. And all they wanted to do was throw money around, right? Oh, look at me. I did 7 figures, and, you know, here's a stack of hundreds. And I mean, it was gaudy and not who I am, right? I get it. It's for some people, right? You want the flash, you want the bling, go nuts. I couldn't get out of there soon enough. You know, so when you go to a mastermind, you get invited, you test them. If you get any kind of icky feeling or just uneasy, go somewhere else. No harm, no foul, go somewhere else. Because there are a lot of really, really good ones, and then some that you won't fit with. So any thoughts on all that?
I entirely agree, right? There's plenty of opportunities out there to join them. And I think the ones that are the most willing to share, and the ones that where it's not like, you know, tit for tat, you give me this, I'll give you that. It's no, you give as much as you can. Hopefully that person gets really good, and then they have more to give later, right? It's the rising tide theory. It raises all ships. So I agree. We really do pride the level of people, not only just on their business skills, but their ethics that are a part of the 7-figure group, because everyone in there is a cool person.
Yeah.
You know, I've never been around that many people and not bumped into a jerk.
Well, self-qualification, right? They run a tight shop. So that's really cool. So I guess I'd be remiss if we didn't say, where are you taking this thing? You know, you got 3 to 5 years out. So not 19, we're talking like 2021, 22. Where are you taking this thing? How many transactions? What's the team look like? You in multiple markets? You given that any thought?
I have. So we're kind of on a little bit of a debate on how we want to go about moving forward, whether it's scale across the country, which I think we might do in terms of the marketing side of the equation and maybe find strategic partners, but also how do we maybe, diversify. Mm-hmm. So I've recently started building out like an agency side of our business, so we can ride the cycles better. So on the way up, we can and also be a more consultative seller, right?
Right.
So
more options.
Not the right fit for an investment. We say, hey, look, we can make you a cash offer, but you're probably better suited this way.
Yep.
And if you ever want to hit the easy button and sell for cash, we're right here with you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of looking at that. Like I said, we've got a bookkeeping business. We're building out rentals. We're going to probably have to build out a flipping team on the way down, because I foresee that being the path through.
Mm-hmm.
Buying at a discount, just beating the market down with the best product. Yep. And then on the way back up, when it bottoms out, buy all the rentals and then wholesale the way back up again, right? When people start getting aggressive about their purchases.
Genius.
So that's kind of what my vision of the cycle is. And we're just trying to figure out how to best manipulate that to not manipulate, maybe that's the wrong word, but best way to ride the waves.
Yeah. Leverage. Leverage the wave. Right. Cause that's the one thing that people need to realize. Real estate cycles are going to be the cycles. No one team, even as impressive as you are, can influence the market, right? 3.5 million things there. You're touching, even best case 300 transactions. That's, like 0.00001% or whatever it is, right? It's nothing.
Itty bitty.
Yeah, itty bitty. It's like itty bitty of itty bitty, right? It's just not going to impact. The market's going to run. So being the leader, right, out of the business that's looking at the cycles and how best to take advantage of it is genius. And I would tell you, again, advice you didn't ask for is to think 6 months ahead, right? That's where you should be thinking. And I think you're right. I think everything you outlined is ahead of us. It's ahead of us at a country level. But then there's each, state or region is different. So, that's really cool. The one thing I'll push back on, and again, my show, haha, is, getting into other markets, right? I get the excitement of that. But also, that just brings on a whole nother layer of risks and costs and all of that. So maybe how are you going to temper those, right? Because the three metros, 3 million people, you could eat in that market forever. Why would you want to go to Lincoln and others?
And that's why we're debating which we want to do the long term. I'm probably thinking what's going to happen is we're going to ride through the next cycle and make sure we have the right people, the strong foundation, and then possibly in the next turn and upswing of the market, we look at other markets. Right now with the marketing side of the equation, it's not a huge risk other than, the initial dollars. If we don't see a return quickly enough, we can always just turn,
just turn it off. Yeah.
Rather than building the team. And that's where we've been in other markets before. And there was always finding the people, managing the people remotely. That was the most challenging, training them, coaching.
Got it.
So that's what we've found. I mean, other people in our group have successfully navigated those waters, but just hasn't been my skill set. Bill Allen does a great job, but he also has, a military background, so he knows how to run tight ship.
Yeah, I'm guessing his ships run a little. Yeah, I could only imagine a Navy man or Navy, Air Force, Navy. I forget. Navy,
I believe. Navy pilot.
Yeah, Navy pilot. Yeah, he would have his checks and balances in place, I'm sure. The other thing that I would just say is it'll be interesting to watch as markets change, right? We talked about a softening earlier. I think into a rising market, I think you're absolutely right. Turn on the funnel, full spigot, go as many markets as you can that you have boots on the ground that you trust, go nuts. I think into a softening market, that's where it gets a little interesting.
Yeah, you probably change your strategy. That's where you can probably start picking stuff off the MLS more and turn off the direct mail dollars, because that's kind of right. That's what our marketing manager's job is, to figure out how to best spend our money or not spend it to get the biggest return.
Exactly. Not spend it sometime is the right answer. Exactly. This is very cool. So I always turn over the end of the show to the guest, where you can go ahead and share anything you would like, what you're looking for, help, advice, anything you like. The floor is yours.
Oh, well, first of all, I just want to thank you for having me on. This has been awesome. I guess a few things that I do like to try and talk about is, like I mentioned briefly, we have a bookkeeping business specifically designed for real estate investors. It's called REI Books Online. They're kind of flat fee type structure. So if you want to take a look at that, or you want to check it out, because what we found is that's why we created it. We had regular bookkeepers who reconciled once a month and then didn't know what the heck it was or how to categorize it. And our accountants didn't know what to do with that then. So we built that in a way to try and help investors. I would highly encourage everyone to look into seven-figure flipping. There's some different programs, higher and lower, depending on where you're at. So if you want to talk with me about any of those things, you feel free to reach out. And then I'm always looking for people that are looking to finance or be an investor, kind of for rental properties that I'm purchasing. I kind of always equate to, if you invest in the stock market and Google goes to zero, you get nothing. If I don't pay you for any reason, you have a house to take back that I've already renovated and put a tenant in place. So it's a secured investment opportunity. So, if people are interested in that, we've got a ton of opportunity here in Metro Detroit because the prices aren't crazy and the rents are pretty strong. Yeah. You're not going to see the big appreciation side of the equation, but, I'm always interested in talking with people about that if they're interested in trying to get a secure investment. So, I can be best reached at Mike, MIKE, Cowper, COWP as in Paul, ER, at BUYROI.com. So be happy to talk with anybody, help anybody out as well. If you have any questions about any of those things or the group, you just want to chat, shoot me a message. I'd be happy to carve some time out.
That's great, Mike. And again, I would advise people watching this show, because you are real estate investors, check out the bookkeeping. That is a part of the business that I outsourced very quickly. Because I'm an accountant, right? That was what I did as a job for a while before I moved into sales. So I could do it. It's just not the best use of my time, right? You should be focused on acquisitions or running something else. So take a look at that. And as you've seen, Mike is a big believer in the mastermind. And I would tell all of you, if you're running something that you're like, I want to go next level, 7-figure flipping could be a good option. And again, make sure it's the right fit for you and all that stuff we've already talked about. And then lastly, being a private investor to someone like Mike, who's in the business doing it, makes a lot of sense. And again, Mike, just one more time, what's your email if they want to get a hold of you?
It's Mike.Cowper at WeBuyROI.com. And if you're interested in getting on our list of CA opportunities that we have, it's WeBuyROI.com. So if you're interested in investing in Metro Detroit, you can sign up there to see all of our deals.
Very cool, Mike. Well, I appreciate you giving me this time. This has been a lot of fun. I wish you the best of luck and have a great 2019.
Thanks for having me on, Michael.
All right.